Before you step into this complicated, irregular network of corruption and retribution, know this. In the dark alleys of Lagos, every whisper hides a secret, every shadow conceals betrayal, and every victory is paid in blood. Brace yourself for a journey where one daughter's quest for justice becomes a relentless battle against an unseen empire. Stay with us until the very end. The truth that unfolds will shatter everything you thought you knew. Let's dive right into the story. Lagos, thick with humidity and the scent of rain, pulsed under the weight of secrets. In a city where power dictated survival, Chief Godwin Dike was more than a man. He was an institution, oil tycoon, political puppeteer, the shadow behind the throne, for his reach extended into every corner of the city, and his methods were as ruthless as they were secretive. That night, Kenneth Ubah held a secret that could bring it all crashing down. He clutched the manila envelope to his chest, his heartbeat thrumming with a dangerous rhythm. The documents inside spelled ruin for Godwin. Numbers, offshore accounts, names, proof of betrayal buried under wealth and influence. But Kenneth never made it home. His car was found hours later, engulfed in flames on the outskirts of the city. The official report called it an accident. Those who knew better called it a warning. At 16, Ebele Ubah stood by the fresh grave, silent as the world around her wept. The earth swallowed her father, and something inside her hardened into steel. I will make them pay. She whispered it to the wind, to the city, to the gods above. I will burn their world down if I have to, even if it takes my whole life. Years later, Ebele grew into a weapon. Law became her blade. Cases became her battleground. Each victory chipped away at the rot beneath Lagos' gilded surface. She exposed fraudulent politicians, dismantled crime rings, and unraveled financial webs spun by men who believed themselves untouchable. But something was missing. The deeper she dug, the more she realized her father's murder was only the tip of a vast iceberg. Then came the call, a hushed voice, a time, a location, a promise of truth. Ebele drove through the storm, rain hammering her windshield as she sped towards the meeting point. The city blurred past, a dizzying tapestry of neon lights and looming shadows. Her fingers tightened on the steering wheel as she replayed the words. I have something on your father's death. Meet me alone. Her gut screamed that this was a trap. Her heart whispered that she had no choice. Then the headlights, a sleek black SUV, loomed in her rearview mirror, closing in. Heart pounding, Ebele swerved. The tires skidded against sleek asphalt. The SUV matched her every move. Her heart pounded in her ears as the vehicle closed in. With each twist and turn on the slick roads, the terror intensified, until, without warning, a violent crash rattled her world. Metal crunched, glass exploded. Her car spiraled. The world turned upside down. The last thing she saw before the darkness swallowed her was the message smeared in red across the shattered windshield. Drop the case or die like your father. Ebele woke to a sterile hospital room, her body aching, her mind clouded. The case file she had risked everything for was gone, but the fire in her chest burned hotter than ever. A week later, she stood in a courtroom, watching as Chief Godwin Dike was led away in handcuffs. The trial was a blur. Evidence was presented, testimonies heard, and a verdict delivered: life in prison. In the courtroom, as the gavel fell, Ebele allowed herself a moment of bittersweet triumph. Justice, it seemed, had been served. But as he passed her, he leaned in, voiced a whisper of smoke and rain. "You have no idea who your real enemy is." The words lodged deep, a wound festering beneath her skin. The following months plunged Ebele into a web of deceit. Then came the first letter. No return address, no fingerprints, just a single sheet of paper with a date, 2 days before her father's death, and a transaction number. She traced the source, the beneficiary, Ebuka Nwosu, her father's best friend, his brother in all but blood, the man she had trusted since childhood. Ebele confronted Ebuka in his pristine office, the weight of years pressing against her ribs. "Tell me this is a mistake." Ebuka's face remained impassive. The silence stretched. Then, in a voice devoid of remorse, he said, "I told your father not to betray me." The world tilted. The betrayal sliced deeper than she thought possible. And in that charged moment, every tear and every lost moment flashed before her eyes. She felt the weight of years spent chasing shadows. The wrong enemy had been behind the facade all along. She was still reeling when Detective Funmi Adeyemi, her closest ally, put a gun to her ribs. "You should have stopped digging, Ebele." Her stomach dropped. Funmi, the woman who had fought beside her, who had saved her life more than once. "You were supposed to be on my side." A flicker of something, regret, crossed Funmi's face before it hardened into eyes. There are no sides in this game, only survivors. Every lead pointed to something bigger, a force moving the pieces behind the scene. Then a whispered name in the dark: the Black Chamber. A secret society woven into the city's very foundation, a web of politicians, businessmen, and criminals who had shaped Lagos from the shadows for decades. At its apex was Senator Victor Okoye, the man who smiled for cameras while ordering deaths behind closed doors. Ebele was getting too close. It was then that she realized the conspiracy was far larger than she had ever imagined. One night, her apartment was attacked in a scene that blurred the line between nightmare and reality. The room was set ablaze. She barely escaped, clutching only a single file, evidence tying the Black Chamber to Jide Kalu, an ex-military officer with a history of disappearing problems. That was when she knew the truth wasn't just buried, it was protected, very protected. The loss of trusted allies and the mounting betrayals triggered a surge of emotion that transformed her grief into steely resolve. Every step forward was now a battle against unseen forces, every shadow a potential enemy. Late one humid night, as Lagos pulsed with the electric hum of hidden danger, Ebele received a message, that sent a fresh wave of dread through her soul. "You are not done yet, Ebele." The words, delivered in cold digital ink, were a promise of the battles yet to come. Determined to uncover the final truth, she began piecing together fragments of evidence that pointed to the elusive mastermind known as the Ghost of Lagos. In a daring move, Ebele arranged a secret meeting with Jide, the ex-military intelligence officer whose loyalty had been as shifting as the city's dark alley. Under a moonlit sky, on a rooftop that overlooked a sleeping metropolis, the confrontation was set. Rain fell in silvery sheets as Jide's expression shifted from remorse to cold calculation. His voice cut through the night. "You were just a pawn, Ebele. The Black Chamber, there are nothing compared to what really controls Lagos." Before she could press for more, a gunshot rang out. Jide crumpled. From the shadows he emerged. Tailored suit, eyes like cold steel, the air around him thick with absolute control. "No one betrays me and leaves," the Ghost of Lagos murmured. Ebele barely had time to react before everything went black. Ebele awoke in a lavish high-rise penthouse, a gated cage overlooking the sprawling city. Across from her sat the Ghost of Lagos, a glass of whiskey in hand, his demeanor unnervingly calm. "I admire your tenacity, Ebele," he said, sliding a contract toward her. "Join me and you will wield power beyond your wildest dream. Refuse and your fate is sealed." As his words echoed in the opulent room, Ebele's heart pounded in her ears. The pain of loss, the sting of betrayal, and the crushing weight of years of struggle surged within her. Then a final act of cruelty. Miss Ezekiel, her beloved mentor, was dragged into the room, bloodied and broken. The ghost ultimatum was clear: sign the contract and save her, or watch her die. Time slowed. In that heart-stopping moment, Ebele's mind raced through memories of her father's gentle guidance, of childhood hopes, and of the sacrifices made along her path. With a surge of desperate courage, she lunged for pen, and in a blur of motion, stabbed it into the ghost's hand. The resulting chaos was instantaneous. A struggle ensued, punctuated by shouts, the thunder of fists, and the echo of a gunshot that narrowly missed Miss Ezekiel. The ensuing rooftop chase was a symphony of adrenaline and terror. Ebele and Miss Ezekiel dashed across the roof, leaping into the unknown as bullets whizzed past, each second stretching into an eternity. The city below became a tapestry of light and shadow, as Ebele's resolve was tested against every obstacle. Driven by the roar of engines and the pounding of her heart, Ebele rallied a ragtag group of allies, journalists, hackers, former soldiers, and activists, each united by a shared hatred for corruption. In an explosive expose, she leaked every damning detail about the Ghost of Lagos, the Black Chamber, and their network of power. The city erupted in scandal. Protests surged through the streets, and even the corrupt began to crumble under the weight of public outrage. In one final meticulously orchestrated trap, Ebele baited the ghost with the promise of hidden fortunes. The shutdown took place in a deserted warehouse, lit only by flickering industrial lights, amid a barrage of gunfire and desperate shouts. Ebele confronted her nemesis. "This ends now," she declared, her voice steady despite the chaos. When the ghost sneered that he was untouchable, she replied, "No, your reign ends with the truth, and the people will be your undoing." As SWAT teams stormed in and the echoes of justice reverberated through the corridors, the ghost was finally apprehended. His empire built on secrets and lies collapsed under the relentless weight of his misdeeds. In the weeks that followed, Lagos slowly began to heal. Senator Okoye and his cohorts were behind bars, and the city's corrupt networks were being dismantled piece by piece. Ebele visited her father's grave under a sky streaked with the painkillers of dawn. "It's now over, Daddy," she whispered, her voice trembling with both sorrow and relief. But as she turned away, a chill ran down her spine. In the distance, a sleek car idled silently. Within it, a shadowed figure watched, its eyes fixed on her. A silent promise that power, once unleashed, never truly dies. In that final heart-stopping moment, Ebele understood that the battle against darkness was eternal. Every victory came at a cost, and every end marked the beginning of a new fight. With her heart heavy yet determined, she vowed that when the next ghost rose, she would be ready. For more stories like this, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel.